Welcome everybody to the Dollhouse, a control fright of fandom. I am, as always, your ghost with the most, your GM with the per diem. I am Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. I use he, him pronouns. And guys, we're doing a GUMSHOE RPG actual play, the finale of our Control flight, or a flight rather set in the universe of Control, the video game that itself is inspired by SCP and other such cool kind of like really weird government intrigue and paranormal activity type stuff. So guys, I'm so glad to be running this. I'm glad we've reached the end, as it were. But will it be the end of our story, or will it be the end of our FBC agents? Let's before we find out, why don't we go ahead and have everybody introduce themselves, starting with David.
Hey folks, David here, he, him. I'm a graphic designer, an illustrator, and a game designer. You can check out all my game stuff over at dbb-8.itch.io. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at dbrunelbrutman. And tonight I am playing for the last time, gasp, or maybe not, one Dr. Myron Katz, a parageology expert here at the FBC.
Excellent. Moving down the overlay, Marissa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa, she, her pronouns, and you can find me under the handle Critical Kitten with various punctuation and hyphenation. Also on Twitter under the handle Marissa Coors. And I am playing Dr. Vivian Bancroft, who is an applied metaphysician, experimental philosopher, astronaut liaison, and the head of the astral exhibition team within the parapsychology division of the research sector of the Federal Bureau of Control, and happens to be the ex-girlfriend of Dr. Katz.
Love it. Just all of the juicy drama that goes along with this while you're fleeing for your lives. Anyhow, Hopper, if you'd like to introduce yourself, moving over to the other side of the overlay.
'Tis I, the Hopper. What's up? I'm Hopper. I use they, them pronouns, and I can be found in, on, around, and occasionally uncomfortably close behind the internet at Fail Deadly. That is with a 3 instead of an E, so it looks like Fail Badly. And tonight I will be playing Jamie Barnett, the unpaid intern, and sibling of Jane Barnett. And Jamie uses he, him pronouns.
Love it. Not only that, the moment you said that, I just want to say, internet, look out, they've got a knife! Or something like that. Finally, rounding up.
I don't think it's inaccurate. Oh, there we go. There it is.
Excellent. Yes, it begins. Finally, rounding out this motley crew, Puja, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I am Puja. My pronouns are she, her, and I am back to play for the last time Jane Barnett, the twin of that one up there, and desperately trying to hold on to her sanity, but that does nothing about tonight bodes well for any of these four, and I'm excited to see how that ends up.
Oh, I'm excited in the worst way. So guys, a lot has been going on. So let's go ahead and get some kind of creepy, existentially dreadful music up and running, and we'll do a brief recap before we get started on the actual action. So guys, let us know if the music is too loud. That goes to my players as well. So this story all began in the small upstate Catskills town of Markham in New York. All of you were Federal Bureau of Control agents and interns, as it were, that were assigned to retrieve a suspected altered item which revealed itself to be an object of power. You were given this task by then Director Zachariah Trench. It turns out that this suspected object of power, which precipitated an altered world event in the city, in the small neighborhood of a small Finnish family in Markham, the Palos. It turns out that this altered event world event had a significant paranatural, or rather a great deal of paranatural significance. Namely, this object of power seemed to kind of change the material properties of not only the earth around the Palo household, this kind of small townhouse located upstate, but it also managed to basically mutate and turn adversarial several entities that were guarding the object of power itself, a 3-story to scale Victorian dollhouse, as well as kind of also it kind of inflicted transformations upon those that would essentially try to touch it or to get close to it. So as you guys investigated the scene, you found all of the hallmarks and evidence that were associated with a significantly powerful object of power. But you not only did that, but you kind of engaged the object itself in an attempt to basically kind of quell its defense mechanisms, and you were successful. You managed to recover the Dollhouse and place it into the safe custody of the oldest house, the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control in New York City, right in the middle of an invasion from an intradimensional entity only known to some of you as the Hiss. Now, up to this point, you guys have managed to smartly and deftly evade any kind of corruption or violence from the Hiss. But time is of the essence, and it feels like you are running out. You managed to secure an egress to the Black Rock Processing Center, where all of you suspected that the Dollhouse had somehow been moved by the Hiss from containment from the Panopticon, and it was en route to this location that you encountered several people, I should say. In one hand, you encountered the missing daughter of the entirely missing Palo family, Amelia, who seemed to be communicating to you guys from the broadcast televisions dotted around the headquarters as a kind of porcelain doll from within the Threshold Kids episodic programming that was Bureau developed. In addition, you guys have had several strange run-ins with Aughty, the janitor, that seems to be an ever-present force within the oldest house itself. You have been contacted by the board at one point. Janie, you answering your cell phone to essentially, or answering a phone to hear their communique, checking your cell phone, and finally making the realization that there is no battery in it. Finally, probably the most significant run-in that you've had, you encountered a telekinetically, paranaturally gifted individual that all of you realized through some kind of unknown means of communication or telepathy provided by the oldest house was the new director, Jesse Faden, Director Faden. And it's following this encounter and a near miss with a flying, levitating, hiss-elevated telekinetic paranatural entity that you find yourself in Black Rock Quarry, or just outside of it. Now, I will go ahead and tell you guys, you are in this moment, we're picking up where you last left off. However, oftentimes this game of Gumshoe allows you to take small rests in between sessions, unless you want to make time a factor here and you want to speed forward in order to better kind of like take away from the opposition. I will give you an opportunity to rest and to restore 4 points in any of your pools. It's up to you.
Well, aren't we in a hurry?
We are in a hurry, I think, much as that is tempting.
I know. Didn't we have didn't what's her face like start freaking out at us at the end of last episode about from inside the dollhouse? Like,
yeah,
she in
Amelia's
danger?
we're holding on as much as we can, but we can't hold on much longer. They're coming, etc.
I feel like taking a nap right now might be a problem.
You don't know the yeah, nap and a sandwich. What could go wrong?
Hey,
We have
guys
snacks.
don't Snap during the middle of
We're just gonna have a picnic right here in Black Rock Quarry. It's gonna be fine.
Short 20-minute rest. Get them spell slots back. Oh wait, you don't have those.
This is why you guys are so stressed out all the time. You don't take naps in the middle of crises. Obviously.
So it seems like you guys are wanting to soldier forward. Is that the case?
Yes, because nothing can go wrong.
Nothing.
Yeah, I feel like we wouldn't pause logically in the story.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, all of you guys are outside the entrance to the Black Rock Quarry. I am going to go ahead and quickly find the map for that and share it with my players momentarily.
While that's happening, because I completely forgot about this,
Mhm.
Jane is going to toss her phone to Jamie and say, has this always been this way? It doesn't have a, oh, sorry, I'm Southern. It doesn't have a battery. How's it working?
Battery? You know,
I mean-
it don't work like that in the house. You know that.
Where to go?
It's always been that way.
I will say this. If any of you would like to make me a paranatural studies roll, or
Indeed, I would.
not a roll, but rather if you'd like to spend a point, I can give you a little bit of extra context here.
I'll take that. I'll bite.
Okay. So there is something that has been off, and that I think only when Janie brings it to your attention, Jamie, do you kind of remember? It's almost like a fact that seems to kind of elude your understanding when it's not right in front of your face, which is that you have always been carrying these cell phones, even in spite of the fact that, you know, such technology is kind of outlawed or kind of like forbidden within the oldest house, and they've always seemed to work regardless. Mostly because there is something unique that has happened to you since your encounter with the altered item, the mini disc player. Something about this technology, something about the transmission of communications between your sister and yourself, and between yourselves and other people and entities, seems eased ever since that encounter. And it's strange, there is an anti-mimetic sort of property to it, as you realize that Janie has forgotten, but has only just realized once again that the battery is missing from the phone. You think that this might be a gift of that item.
Look, I know you don't like talking about it, Jane, but I mean, like Jamie like kind of pulls up the camera and just kind of like opens up the battery compartment and pulls out a stick of gum. Just like it's been like that ever since. You remember, don't you? You remember, right?
Janie, I need you to make a stability roll.
Yeah! Ah!
Spend points however you like. I'm not telling you the difficulty on this, but just give me a roll when you're ready and tell me how many you're
All
spending.
right, I'm gonna spend one.
Okay.
Oh, that's a 5 on the die. So
Alright.
6.
I think there is something incredibly disquieting about this knowledge, and yet somehow something about the circumstances that you find yourselves in has steeled your nerves for the time being. Tell me what runs through your head as you kind of like begin kind of like piecing these things together. And the question also is, do you remember this when you manage to kind of like get control of those nerves?
So I think given everything Jane has seen, what Jane is starting to realize is that she is very highly adapted to surviving her circumstances. So when during the AWE and everything that happened, she was even in the past, she was able to adapt to the circumstances. But then once she was back in the real world, she compartmentalized and became a normal person. And now that they're in circumstances that are extremely far from normal, I think Jane is starting to realize that she has the ability to kind of unbox that compartment that she insisted never existed. Sorry, Jamie. Because now everything that she stored away there is useful. So it's just one of those things where there's almost code switching going on in a way here, where she's fully in the world of, okay, we're in a world where like physics is mood based, essentially. You know, things just do shit when they want to. And so I think when Jamie points out and like that stick of gum drops, I think Jane flashes back to the part, you know, there's like different glimpses of different parts of her life where she's just pretended it hasn't happened. It's just, I don't have time to focus on this. I'm just going to ignore this. It's like that, it's inattentional blindness, where she was focused on whatever else was going on surviving, on keeping Jamie out of trouble. She didn't have time to worry about why things didn't have batteries in them. Like, honestly, like, whatever, it works, screw it. But now I think it's like one of those things where you see like that the reel going backwards, where this has been the way the whole time. And she's seeing the gorilla in the black suit walk across as the people pass the basketball around. Nice
image there. Absolutely. And I will tell you this, the moment you kind of stare down at the handset, the cell phone itself, there's a moment where in your vision it becomes the handset of a Bakelite telephone, and that's when it rings, and it seems to vibrate in your hand, giving you kind of like a bit of a fright. What do you do?
Look at Jamie, look at the other two, and then answer.
Yeah, by the way, I will say this, Dr. Katz, Dr. Bancroft, she is holding a dead, cracked cell phone with a battery compartment completely empty and open, and she looks startled at it and then suddenly brings it to her ear. Jamie, you see the same thing that Janie did. And that is when you once again you hear.
We get the volume slightly up, Zachary.
All right.
Is it supposed to be intelligible?
It is not supposed to be intelligible.
Okay. But yeah, Jane is holding the phone between herself and Jamie.
Yeah, and you guys hear this, and instinctually both of you understand what the board is telling you, which is this. So, the message that the board sends to you is the dollhouse / sanctuary is being demolished / corrupted. The family / nexus will not exist / live if you do not summon / contact the director / quest giver. The hiss seeks to end her song / frequency. What do you do?
Did you just get a phone call?
Yes, and Jane will repeat the message just received. It sounds like we need to contact the redhead.
Is that what the board said?
Yeah, I said we need to contact the director, and she's the director, right?
And the board contacted you through that?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Look, don't worry about it. We're interns. We take calls all the time.
Jamie, do you think if I dial Trench's old number, she'll answer?
Well, seems possible. I mean,
Can I look at this broken phone and try to dial Trench?
Worst case, you could get him, sis.
Well, let me ask you, do you think you have any investigative abilities you can apply here?
I've got paranatural studies.
Yeah, if you got a point, I will happily...
I got a point for that. Let me see if I have anything else. I have electronic surveillance. That's not helpful. Yeah, I think paranatural studies is probably the best one.
Okay. I will tell you this. I will also accept electronic surveillance.
Oh, all right. Well, you can have that one.
Okay. So as you kind of put the headset to your ear, you have this clear mental image of a woman walking past that same woman that you encountered that was levitating and fighting the hiss elevated. You have this clear mental image of her walking past a radio. Like literally one of the broadcast kind of intercoms that are dotted throughout the oldest house.
I cannot remember based on my notes whether we know her name or not. I mean, I wrote it down because do I know it meta or do I know it in character?
You know it in character. You know it instinctually. It's almost like kind of like something that has tickled the base of your medulla oblongata. You know this for her name is Director Faden.
Director Faden.
The mental image again, like she stops and turns to the radio, and she picks up the receiver, and the mental image is substituted by the sound of her voice piping in through the handset, and you hear, "Yes, this is Director Faden. Who is this?"
Do the other two hear this?
I will say this: it is only between Janie and Jamie. If you, if Jamie, you would like to kind of translate what is being said, that is also your prerogative.
Okay. This is Jane Barnett with her brother Jamie Barnett. We're twins here at the FBC, and you may have not noticed we had a problem. You saved us earlier.
Oh, good. Okay, you're all right. I would have stopped to talk to you, but you seemed in a rush.
Yes, and it turns out we need you here with us. We're outside the Black Rock Quarry. The board has told us that we need to go get this dollhouse that we brought in, and the hiss is here after you, and you need to be here. Is there anything else? Jane used to whisper to everybody, is there anything else I need to say?
You got her?
Yeah. I think if you could just head this way as fast as you can.
Okay.
We've got eggheads and interns. Like, we need help.
Okay, I'm back up in the Panopticon. I'm going to make it down as soon as I can. I'm sending a ranger to your location. And at which point, once again, you hear her change frequencies. And you hear her say, "This is Director Faden. Dispatch an FBC ranger directly to Black Rock Processing." And then you just hear a voice over the comm that says, "Roger Wilco." And I think not too long from when you hear that, it's almost like you hear the stomping of bootsteps from deeper in maintenance, but the sound of a running footstep.
She sent more people with guns to shoot things they're not supposed to.
Or protect us.
And as you guys have you hear that sound of quick running footsteps while you are kind of waiting just outside the furnace chamber. What do you guys do?
Doctors.
Yeah, hold up here. What did the director say?
She said, and Jane looks to Jamie too to confirm. She said she's in the Panopticon and is headed this way as soon as she can, but is sending the Ranger in the meantime.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, we hear Ranger boots.
She's fast. I'm talking through a broken telephone. Like, I mean, get with it, buddy.
Okay, no. Think for a second here. Come on.
I will say
the astral plane does compress time, Myron.
I will say this, Dr. Bancroft, you may I will tell you this, if you can think of a kind of metaphysical talent that you can spend, I can give you some context here.
Yes, I in fact have metaphysics as a talent, so if that qualifies as a metaphysical talent.
Okay. So as you go ahead and spend that point, and as you are thinking about this situation, there are some things that you were communicated by the twins about the board and some of the terminology they used. NPC, quest giver. You realize that they're very distinct, very disquieting possibility that you are in the middle of a simulation of some sort.
Did we just give Jesse a side quest?
I don't know. Did you?
God damn it.
Really putting the meta in metaphysics there, Zach.
Wait, but where are the side quests?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're the side quest.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
we're optional.
I mean, yeah. We're interns and nerds.
I'm sure
There's nothing
I'm sure
sexy
this
about
provides-
this side quest. I'm sorry.
We're the karma morality side quest. Like there's no actual real risk reward to actually rescuing us. It's just you'll feel good if you do.
I mean, hey, we could be that side quest with like the NPCs who are like lovable enough that they eventually get their own DLC.
Yeah.
You know, recurring cast.
That is life goals.
I
know.
I think probably some minutes later in game, in real time, as you're pondering this strangeness, you hear the kicking open of a door, not far from your position. What do you do?
Okay, everybody look sharp or something.
Shady holds up one of the many guns she has. Because I remember she's strapped down with all of those guns.
Oh yeah,
also,
we're very heavily armed.
We're very armed.
The doctors are literally gun mules.
I don't think that Katz has put away his sidearm this entire time.
Jamie is gonna reach over and just flick the safety on Katz's gun just to make sure it's on.
On? Yeah.
On.
Don't shoot if you don't
Touch
mean
my
it.
Gun! Jesus Christ!
You don't look very comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not. Anything could be coming down that goddamn hallway.
Here, have some gum. And Jamie holds a piece of gum in front of you. Smells like juicy fruit.
And
Not really, Jimmy. Is this the time?
Over her shoulder, Jane's like,
No,
it's
you know what? This is actually a good idea. Thank you, Jamie.
It's
for the
always
gum.
time for snacks. But also, I don't know how long that's been in there, Doc.
Too late.
It tastes very stale.
So
I should point out that gum is technically not a snack. It doesn't really have any nutritional value. It just leads you to believe that it does because it has an artificial taste.
It's got some sugar in there, right?
I mean, artificial taste to not jump out of my own skin.
This is Ranger Langley. I'm looking for a team of researchers. You hear a bellowing from not too far from your position down the hallway past the doors of the furnace chamber.
Christ. Jamie, you want to go wave him over?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Carefully. We don't know who or what we're dealing with.
Jamie's
got 4 guns. He's fine.
Jamie's full of gun and a grenade.
Yes.
Chekhov's grenade that I still have. Jamie just kind of saddles over the door and kind of pokes his head around the edge and just goes, "Yeah."
And you see a suited up figure in full FBC Ranger gear, carrying an M83 rifle, looking around and saying finally to you, "Director, dispatch me to this location. Is everything all right?"
Could be better.
It might get not all right real quick, so we do appreciate the backup, but at least until the director gets here.
Situation report. How are you for armaments, for ammo? Is everything all right?
Jamie steps forward out of the doorway and just goes, "We're good."
Jane, when he goes in, Jane's gonna spin around in a circle. I think we're fully loaded.
All right.
But look alive. We're about to go in, I guess.
All right. We've been meeting heavy resistance from Black Rock Processing. May have spread into the quarry. Follow my lead.
Can Jane, before they go in, just give a little knock for no reason to Jamie and her own HRA?
What do you mean by a knock?
Just making sure it's on. Does she know how to tell it's on? I don't know.
Do you have a relevant investigation skill?
Okay.
I will also accept what general abilities will I accept here? I'll accept which one?
Preparedness.
Yeah, please go ahead and give me a preparedness roll.
Oh, I have that. I have preparedness. I'm prepared. All right, I think this is important, so I'll put 2 into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
She gotta look out for. Well, that's good.
Okay.
Because I rolled a 2, so that's a 4.
All right. As you are doing an inspection of your gear, I believe that there was a point where I think that there may have been some kind of damage that was possible to the HRA. And sure enough, you see that one of the wires connecting the Black Rock emitter, like kind of processor emitter to the rest of the harness is frayed.
Oh, shit. Jamie, can you fix this before we go in?
Let me, that be a mechanics roll?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a mechanics roll.
All right, I'll spend my point in that. It's a 4 total.
Okay. I will say that, yeah, I think that you probably have enough handy dandy tools. You can try to duct tape this and kind of patch it up very quickly. And make sure that everything is kind of like A-okay there if you would like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the guy who came have an HRA on too?
He does.
Okay.
He's completely well suited for this task. It's almost as if he has kind of been summoned to this point by the radio, as it were. There is something.
Does he just charge into the quarry?
What was it? He is waiting expectantly for you guys to follow him.
He's our like friendly assist. You know, the one that
Alright.
like always follows wherever you go and then like fights till they
Waits.
die.
If you look around stuff, they're just waiting there at the corner, and then as soon as you head in their direction, they'll like pick up and start doing like the run.
Or my least favorite is when their pathing is slower than you are, and so then you're just, and like the game won't have them catch up. They're like, follow this person. You're like, I'm 600 feet in front of them. Fuck. Run back, and then they're like, oh, glad you could catch up.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. That is Agent Langley for you, or Ranger
All right.
Langley, I should say.
Ranger, did the director mention anything about what we're looking for in here?
He looks at you and just says, honestly, I figured the eggheads would probably know the best way forward. Something about an object of power?
Yeah, right. A dollhouse. Don't listen to me. Shoot it.
Okay.
By the way, that means Myron means don't shoot it. Do not shoot it. Not don't shoot it. You see, one sentence.
So
Don't shoot it.
don't shoot it.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Dr.
You're very
Bancroft.
welcome, Dr. Katz. It was necessary to avoid a potential mistake.
Okay.
All right.
I
Great.
think I got that
Lead
in.
on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So guys, just be careful. Follow some space back from me. Make sure that I clear the chamber and identify any threats first. And then I'm going to get you as safely there as possible.
All right.
All right.
Guns out.
Okay.
Holler if you need us.
Jamie has her rifle at the ready.
Okay.
As does Jamie.
At which point, Langley looks at all of you just as, great. We're going to do one solid for Director Faden. She's really been cleaning up everything over here. Can't wait to make that promotion. And he immediately goes through the entry to Black Rock Quarry and begins kind of like moving forward, clearing the corners, and then begins waving you to follow. And is about 20 feet ahead of each of you at the very least.
Unless Katz or Bancroft say otherwise, Jane's gonna follow.
Yep.
All right. At which point he
That's the plan.
once again holds a closed fist up, moves 20 feet forward, looks around, and all of you take in the scene of Black Rock Quarry, which is essentially this massive, it's almost like kind of like looking into a basalt quarry or kind of like a anthracite quarry. You just have these large kind of almost square cylindrical kind of tubes of massive glittering mineral that you realize is kind of the black rock. It's like Vanta black as if it could twinkle just slightly in some places. And the entire ground of this place is littered with it. There is all of this kind of like soil is pretty much fragmented black rock, and you see just all around this massive quarry, it has to be at least 100 feet in diameter. You see all these kind of cranes moving in pieces of black rock on large kind of like dollies that are being moved along tracks on elevated centers. There are cranes, there are basically kind of like almost like kind of lifting equipment, heavy machinery that is all dedicated to the refinement and the processing of this ore. And right smack in the middle of it is a 3-story Victorian manor house. And around it, easily that you notice with your understanding of parageology, Myron, you see the soil has a different, more shiny kind of quality, reflecting more light than the rest of the black rock around it. And you realize that the dollhouse has this kind of menacing glow to it, and the basically the kind of like area around the house is in at least the soil, that vital black rock is partly porcelain. And I think at this point, Agent Langley has moved 20 feet forward, is looking at all of you and says, okay, it looks like a straight shot for, oh my God! And then suddenly you see him be overtaken by this massive kind of spiking creature or some sort of paranatural entity. I will tell you this, with astral plane knowledge, if you give me a spend, you know exactly what this is, Dr. Bancroft.
Yes, I would. So I will give you that spend. Is it indeed an astral spike?
It is indeed an astral spike, and you see Agent Langley impaled on this thing many times over as it seems to basically begin kind of dematerializing him to a degree. He is running as fast as he can away from it, but the damage that he has sustained to his pack and everything on him is considerable. He is going to try to run away. My question is, with this thing beginning to spike, this kind of like fragmenting fractal entity that represents more of kind of like an exercise in strange non-Euclidean geometry than anything else, what are you guys doing?
Shit. Viv, procedures?
Can I shoot it?
Yes, start now.
She's gonna shoot it.
I will tell
Vivian
you.
looks pretty scared. Like, there's a reason that there are containment procedures, like very heavy containment procedures for astral spikes, and like how occasionally, you know, if it looks like one is going to get into reality, you know, you pull the plug on the astronaut, not let it, you know, to avoid this happening. So she looks pretty scared.
Yeah, this is terrifying because you can't even like put a face to this thing, guys. It literally just seems to be this roiling mass of like spiteful, angry energy that is all kind of like black, and it's basically kind of like changing in parts, almost like living static, and is rolling towards Agent Langley as if to try to consume him, and is vaguely kind of moving in your direction. Janie, we'll go ahead and resolve your shooting roll in just a minute. What is everybody else doing?
I mean, Jamie heard Dr. Bancroft say to shoot, which means presumably physical projectiles can interact with this thing. Yeah, I guess Jamie's gonna also open fire.
Okay. Dr. Katz, are you doing anything?
Vivian said shoot. He's gonna start shooting.
Okay.
But I think also will very specifically like, all right, so where is this thing in relation to us and the dollhouse? Is it in between us?
I will say it is in between you, off to kind of your left as you are looking straight on at the dollhouse. It seems to be moving towards Langley as he's trying to evade it. But you know that basically as soon as it finishes with him, it's going to start moving toward you, Dr. Bancroft.
So Vivian is going to say a couple of things in fairly quick succession. And she's going to kind of shout over the noise that this thing is making. Number one, use your fire to draw it elsewhere. These things are not easily killed. It's not known, in fact, whether or not we could kill it with just gunfire alone. But what you can do is trap it, contain it, look for a way to get it into a room, some area where it can't escape. Two, make sure you don't get too close to it. If you're in proximity, you might go weightless, and then it uses that energy to pull you closer to it so it can destroy you. It has this passive wavelength it emits, which is not only from the violent trajectory of its mass, but it's the disruption of organic and inorganic matter that it causes. So within a certain range, it leaves a trail. So watch where it moves and make sure not to go into its wake. Like an airplane, don't step into its trail. Got that?
I think all of this is said in rapid fire gibberish, as is you have seconds. So what is so you guys have fired at it. I would like everybody to go ahead and roll shooting. You can spend points however you like. I will say this. Yeah, go ahead and spend however many you like.
Do we still have that +1 to roll from last time?
You do.
Cool. I will use a point. And then based on what Dr. Bancroft said, would Jane have gotten to hear that before the shooting?
I will say this. This is something I think that you guys are going to be shooting, and you're going to be hearing this while moving.
Okay.
I think this is a several
I'm imagining
turn.
all of that information delivered amidst like a hail of gunfire.
Yeah.
So probably you don't get the context of why it is essential not to do these things, but maybe you get like the stay out of its wake, shoot to contain it, basic, like bare bones, which you can get over the level of gunfire.
I think it's just like it's mag dumps from both of us.
Yeah.
And then while we're reloading, we just kind of slightly muffled hearing, we hear Dr. Bancroft screeching this out.
So I think first Jane's going to shoot directly at it, and I rolled a 5 for that.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my dad yelling at the TV because the Astros are playing.
I will also accept that as Langley getting driven over by the astral spike. Oh fuck no! No!
I was gonna say, is it Astros or Astrals?
Oh, that's a...
I'm gonna text my dad and be like, "Yo, calm down."
You just got meted into the game.
Reality.
Dad, we can hear you on my stream.
Okay.
I'm a floor away, y'all.
I will say this, however, as you fire into it, it draws the attention of the spike, but it doesn't seem to do any damage to this thing, as again the energy is spiking out, this astral kind of like projection or entity that has escaped from the astral plane. It is spiking out, it is staticky. That noise of static is growing closer to you, and it is being drawn by the gunfire towards your position.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Like miraculously, Langley. Let me see how much damage this thing does to Langley. Okay.
I have a wild idea.
Oh boy.
I was gonna say, Jane's about to ask Katz for an idea too. Well, she's gonna ask Katz a question specifically.
Okay. What's that?
But I'll let you go with the wild idea first.
Okay. Zach, is there additional narration, or is this thing just coming at us at this point?
I will say that basically as you are like moving towards it, or like as you are firing at it, it seems to kind of almost like pivot a little bit and start moving towards you. It's moving very slowly, however. It's slightly faster than a walking pace.
Okay, so there's construction equipment all over this place, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to do to put some sort of propane-powered forklift on the side or top of a wall or column of Black Rock near us?
Let me see. I will tell you this. As somebody who works in parageology, do you have...
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Katz is very specifically like trying to, you know, as he's shooting this thing, look around and like notice, okay, here are the fault lines. Here's where this rock has been dug into. This is structurally weak. If this fault line goes over to here, I'm going to trace this back. There's a piece of construction equipment there. That's flammable. That's
Well,
explosive.
That's funny because what Jane was going to ask Katz is, where's rock we can shoot to trap it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Already on it, kid.
Yeah, I will tell you this. Go ahead and give me, you can either give me a driving roll or you can, let me think about what skill this would be. Is there anything you can name while I'm trying to look at?
Driving.
Yeah, so there's driving, which I think is...
I'm
general
sorry, I
abilities.
wasn't clear. I want to shoot the propane tank
I see.
that powers the forklift.
Yeah, it's tell me what fault line to shoot at.
Okay. Let me, this
OSHA
is...
has words to say about a propane tank powering a forklift. Jamie's calling OSHA.
Hey, look, we got to
What?
go real base level with oldest house technology. I will say,
that's a real thing, is it not?
yeah, totally. That's a real thing. Yeah, don't check me on that.
No, I'm legitimately asking.
So
Nah.
I will tell you this. You can either use ballistics or chemistry.
I mean, yeah, I'll spend my last chemistry point.
Excellent. Okay, so you know exactly where a fault line is lined up with. I will tell you this. There is a fault line that is lined up with some equipment that doesn't necessarily have a propane tank, but there are barrels of fuel just left out in the open.
Ew.
Color me a fucking liar, because that's apparently a real thing.
A propane-powered forklift is 100% a thing. I have Googled it on the side.
I did as well.
My memory was correct.
I did as well. That is so wild.
They have them in, like, the Home Depot.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
That's not safe. How is
No,
that
which is
legal?
why I'm doing this.
Can we also as a party like start kind of turning towards the house?
Yeah.
And Katz, you can tell me,
Yeah,
tell me what to shoot.
right. I think right there, Katz is like, okay, forklift, 10 o'clock, right below that fault line. Hit that propane tank.
All right.
All right.
Jamie, $20 to whoever hits it first.
Wrong.
All right. Go ahead and give me, I will tell you, go ahead and give me shooting rolls for both of you guys while you're doing that. You've been kind of relaying all of this critical information to everybody, Dr. Bancroft. Unless you want that to be your turn to kind of like assist everybody's role in this way, what would you like to accomplish something else?
I mean, I think if my turn will allow all of that information to have gotten through, so like basically you need to trap it, you can't shoot it, like stay out of its immediate range, and what else did I say? Oh yeah, like you'll go weightless if you get close to it. If those 3 kernels of information got through to the rest of the party, I think we can call that my turn.
Yeah, totally. You communicate this as quickly and as effectively as possible. Yeah, and so now it's up to the twins. You guys have a shooting challenge. It is a stationary object, so the challenge is not going to be high, but spend your points. How do you want to do it?
I think we fucking wrecked it. We already rolled. I got a 7.
I got a 5.
Awesome. So count off your...
It's hard to tell whose it is, whose bullet is. We're shooting buck wild.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's just like this Devil May Cry moment. Jackpot. Yeah, so you managed to detonate these barrels of accelerant and fuel, which
100% how that works.
yeah, totally how that works. That don't look up physics. Don't study physics. We're in happy fun land, escapist world. So I will leave it to you.
It's not happy.
It's definitely not
I
happy.
don't know what fucking happy fun escapist game you're playing.
I will tell you this. The high enough, you guys have shot high enough. I think that also, I will tell you this. Myron, tell me how this unfolds, and does Langley get caught in the blast?
Okay, so I'm imagining this being fairly high up, like there's a ledge up above us, right, of Black Rock, and you know we have the forklift that's parked on there. and some extra, fuel canisters. The twins are able to penetrate one. The spark from the bullet pinging off the canister ignites it, and boom, and you get a sort of crack in the Black Rock, sort of slicing down and then sideways, and this big sort of shelf of Black Rock just sort of slides out and slumps over, hopefully directly onto the astral spike, or at least into its path in between us and it.
Absolutely. I will tell you this. I'm going to roll. I'm actually going to roll for Langley to see if he can escape this kind of cascade of Black Rock. He's going to spend 2 points. Ooh, okay. I think
sounds like somebody's not getting a promotion.
I will tell you this. He manages to get out of the way of the cascading rock, but but his leg gets trapped under it. So like his body for the most part is kind of like off to one side, but his left leg has been pinned, and you are starting to see little like spikes of black energy poking up through some of that cascading rock. It's going to be some time before it can somehow like materialize out of this. You think you've bought yourself some time, but you do not know how much time Agent Langley has. What do you guys do?
Shit, he didn't get out of the way. Okay, somebody has to get to the house, and somebody has to get the ranger.
Okay.
Y'all can get the ranger. We'll go to the house.
Yeah, great. All right, awesome. Love it. And Katz is just running for Langley at this point. There's no time.
Okay. So at this point, and Dr. Bancroft, what did you want to do?
I think Vivian is looking torn between the agent and the house, and kind of in a small voice, she says, "The little girl knows me. I don't know if that makes a difference or will make a difference for whatever we're going to find in the house, but," and I think she looks back at Myron, "I don't know if it's a good idea to split up."
Got this much
the
time.
The girl knows you. Yeah, I'm like running and I'm saying over my shoulder, "The girl knows you. Go to the house."
Okay.
And I think she exchanges a long look with Myron and then swallows and runs towards the house.
All right. As you guys are moving towards the house, you look back, and I think, Myron, you are beginning to try to peel the rock off of this guy's leg. The twins, are you flanking Dr. Bancroft? Are you kind of like bringing up the rear? What are you guys doing?
Jane is very much bringing up the rear, with one eye over her shoulder at Katz. So she's going towards the house, but she's not like she's gonna kind of stand almost like halfway between. She wants eyes on Katz.
Okay.
But is moving away.
All right.
Jamie is running like a golden retriever that's been just let off leash towards the house. This is so exciting. This is so much fun.
Okay. I will tell you this. I think that all three of you get to the house. No roll necessary. It's a straight shot. Your feet begin crunching the kind of like the porcelain Black Rock material, and you make it to these stately double French doors on the house, one of which is slightly ajar. What do you do?
I think Vivian puts her hand on the doorknob and looks back at the twins. "I think we have to go. We don't have any time."
Jane's gonna look at Jamie. "We can't leave him out here alone. I have to wait."
I will tell you this, Myron.
Sure.
I would like you to make me an athletics roll. spend points if you like. Spend build points.
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing left in my athletics pool. I'm gonna dump all my build points back into athletics.
Okay.
Myron Katz is just finding reserves of strength that he's just got like crazy adrenaline strength that he didn't know he had, apparently. I'm gonna spend 3.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Damn.
All right. Go ahead and give me that roll.
It's a 1 for 4.
Okay. So on a 4, I will tell you this. It is not lifting the car off of the baby. You know, that kind of like adrenaline surge. I think you're just pushing as hard as you can. And you move it enough that the guy is able to, as the agent is able to kind of like begin extricating himself. You think you're probably going to need at least another attempt. You've loosened it up. You've made this next task simpler, but you're still kind of trapped behind having to take care of this guy. Yeah, I was gonna say that those black spiking energy, it's beginning to, that sound is getting louder and louder as it's beginning to return closer and closer to your position. Janie, you see this. Dr. Bancroft and Jamie, are you guys going through the door? What are you doing?
I think Jamie's staring at Jane, and then like kind of like torn between Bancroft going in and Jane staring back at Katz. He seems really eager to go in, but also scared to be separated from his sister.
I know, this is a problem. I think when Jane sees what happens to Katz, she's gonna yell, "Let him go, Katz! Get in here!"
And at which point, I think I'm gonna make a stability test for the ranger. He looks at you, and there is just utter terror in his eyes, Myron, and he looks at you and he says, "Just go. I got this. Just go."
No, you don't. No, you don't. Get in the house. Get in the damn house. And I just like pull him as hard as I can.
Okay.
And
yeah,
Vivian looks like watching this in horror, like looks resolved, but then steps away from the door. "I am not leaving you, Myron," and starts walking back towards him.
I will tell you this. I am going to give you one last chance here. What I'm going to instead do, as this is representing a very desperate act, Myron, I'm going to give you one more roll. However, you may spend health instead of athletics.
Ooh. Interesting.
Oh, my joints hurt thinking about this.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll do it. I can afford some health. I will spend. Let's go for 4.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Spend 4 points. Make your roll.
5 and a 4. That's a 9.
Okay. That whatever kind of reserve of strength, seeing Dr. Bancroft step away from the house, look at you. You see Janie terrified for you. You see this desperate ranger looking at you, facing down death, baiting you to do what you have to do, and yet you still cannot leave him behind. Describe what this looks like.
Katz is just like it's extremely unpretty. Katz just sort of like puts, you know, like basically bear hugs this guy, sort of like flops sitting on the ground and just like pulls as hard as he can, and his legs are like flailing and scrabbling against the rock. He's trying to like push it off this guy's leg with his feet while he's pulling the guy out. The guy is screaming. I'm sure the leg is bleeding at this point, and he just finally, in one wrench, pulls this guy out from under this last rock, which just sort of like thunks down to the ground with this very like sort of a sickening heavy plunk. And Katz is sort of like sprawled on the ground. The guy is like kind of on top of him, and you know, the spike is right there, and Katz just like takes a deep breath, and again just summoning all of the strength in his full-time lab researcher frame, is going to attempt to haul this guy to his feet, and like just like sloppily carry, run, haul, support him as they get towards the house as fast as they possibly can.
You start kind of carrying him towards the house. He notices over to the left, a little bit off to the side, there is a lift to a ranger station on an elevated level. And once you have some space between you and the spike, he just basically kind of Heisman shoves you off of him. It says, "Go! The ranger station, there's a radio. I'm gonna call for reinforcements. Get in there." And begins kind of hobbling to the lift. But you have probably saved his life.
Get the director. Shit. And Katz, you know, makes it, I would hesitate to call it a run because he's wiped, but also sort of hobbles back towards the door.
Okay. So
Can I say that Vivian has gone halfway back to where Myron is? And if you're hobbling, she will meet you where you are and try to help you get to the end.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Myron like leans on you somewhat heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this, Myron, unassisted, you will have a -1 to all athletics rolls for the rest of this session. Because that represents kind of like the no, you know what? You've already eaten health. So we're just going to count it as is for now. I don't think that's fair. So let's keep going. You get the assistance from Dr. Bancroft.
And seeing the two of them head over, I think Jamie and Jane are gonna, well, I'm assuming they're moving together at this point. They're gonna go inside.
I think, yeah, the instant that Jamie can see that those two are heading this way, he kind of tips the door open further with the muzzle of the rifle and goes in.
Okay. And
Jane goes in right after.
Excellent. That just leaves Dr. Katz and Dr. Bancroft.
I think Vivian takes your hand and squeezes it. We're almost there. Stay focused.
You begin behind you. You hear the sound of the lift making an inexorably loud noise of as you watch Agent Langley doubled over, leaning on the railing for support, make a beeline to the ranger station and hammer his fist onto the radio saying, Director Faden, we need assistance, object of power, we need assistance now. And by that point, you have made it to the doorway.
Yeah, Katz will, sort of slump through the doorway and I think just like slumps into like against the wall of the house as we close the door.
I think Vivian like opens it, pushes Katz in, like swings herself inside and then pulls it shut behind her.
Absolutely. And as you close the door, that kind of like frenetic static, that chaos of the lift, that eerie, mingled with that eerie, mysterious silence within Black Rock Quarry, it stops. and is replaced by a even more terrifying background noise as you step into the entryway of this house. And you hear very quietly, as if like background static, in a distant room where a television might be playing. But instead of static, you hear again.
Through a mirror, inverted is made right. Leave your insides by the door. Push the fingers through the surface into the wet. You've always been the new you. You want this to be true.
As that hiss chant is very quietly seeming to resound, almost as if it's radiating from the walls of the house. And you are now inside the dollhouse. And that is where we're going to take our 10-minute break. So guys, you find yourself inside the house. The dollhouse itself is very one-to-one matching with the research that you did when it was in your custody, Dr. Bancroft and Dr. Katz. The layout is completely unchanged. It is 3 stories. There is a lower floor, what seemed to be a stairway up to the 2nd floor. And of course, you know that there at the very top, there is an attic, or kind of an extra spare room at the very top of this 3rd story. Not only that, but the thing that is different, that is very pressing to all of you, in addition to the horrifying noise of the hiss chant that seems to be emitted from the walls, is also this crimson light that has suffused the entirety of this structure. You have no idea, how you have this feeling that you are in extreme danger. This is a fairly obvious thing, but you don't know which is the most dangerous. The fact that there is this corrupted artifact, or the artifact itself, in which all of your tests yielded nothing but mystery. So, what are all of you doing?
Groaning. Katz is just slumped on like sitting on the floor, back to the nearest wall. Oh, I fucking hate field work.
I think semi-oblivious to this heightened danger, Vivian is on her knees in front of Myron. And she has his chin in her hand and is turning his face side to side to examine it, more to reassure herself that Myron is fine than anything. But then when she is reasonably certain that he is not immensely worse for wear, she slaps him.
Okay.
You're not actively dying? Okay, I kill you.
You take
What the hell? What is wrong with you?
You idiot. You stupid, noble idiot. You couldn't let it go, could you? You had to play the hero, and you don't even know who that man was. But you still couldn't leave him, you fool.
Listen, we have a goddamn job to do, and you're running out there after me. You're gonna get dead too. You're the only one who can deal with this house, and you're running off to fucking throw yourself into an astral spike. What's wrong with you?
Well, I wouldn't have had to do that, Myron, if someone hadn't stayed behind to try to save the ranger. She is hyperventilating, shouting at you, and you see a tear track down her face that Vivian does not notice in the midst of her shouting.
I'm not trying to save the ranger. I'm trying to make sure that okay, yes, listen. You and the fucking Wonder Twins over here needed to get into that house before the astral spike fucked all of us, and you refused to do it. And I bought us a goddamn moment of time for you to do that, and you threw it away.
And what? With what? What cost? You sacrificing yourself? Is that the cost? Because that's not a cost any of us are willing to pay.
What are the twins doing amid this argument?
I think that very last sentence that I don't think that's a cost anyone is willing to pay is punctuated by the loud slurping straw noise as Jamie almost finishes a Capri Sun.
Just had to be a Capri Sun. Okay, yeah.
They're flexible packages. They transport easily. They're a good source of sugar. And
They fit into a pocket?
They fit into a pocket. Look, there's a lot to be said for the humble Capri Sun.
All praise the Capri Sun.
This ad brought to you by whoever the fuck makes Capri Sun. I don't know. It's probably an evil corporation.
I feel like we took a turn into Night Vale. What was that? All hail the Capri Sun.
Yeah, we did.
Jane, in the meantime, wanting to give the nerds some space to fight or make out or do whatever they want to, is going to be kind of scoping the immediate area. Obviously there's this red light and there's the sound, but Jane doesn't, as a lowly intern, Jane is not as well aware of the floor plan of this house, so she's not going to go anywhere, but she is looking around to see if there's any obvious signs of little girl or obvious threat,
Well, I will tell you this. You guys are now in what we might even consider like an investigative area. The circumstances are incredibly tense and you don't know how much time you have to basically investigate the scene, but it is still a scene that you can investigate. What is everybody trying to do?
I think the Capri Sun slurp sort of jolts Vivian out of this argument, I suppose you could call it. And
same with Katz for sure.
And she remembers where she is, what is happening. She sets her face in a thin line and stands up and offers her hand down to Katz. We're not out of it yet. Save your strength.
No, we're not. So we'd better get the job done. And Katz reaches up, takes Vivian's hand, and lets her pull him to his feet.
Okay. All right. So you now have this very kind of fairly terrifying house for you guys to investigate and explore. How are you doing that?
Tell me, OGM, for somebody with an eclectic range of interests and quite a broad and odd series of or a succession of obsessions, how would trivia in any way assist in this investigation?
Let me ask my good friend Mr. Google. There's something I do want to kind of so
it is a Victorian dollhouse, which
I was gonna say,
presumably would be
Jane's route is history if you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else.
I've already spent my history points, so
Well, that's fine. I'll do history. You can do trivia, divide and conquer. Apparently we have the same skills and the same things.
yeah, which is funny because we independently made these characters outside of the backstory. It is actually somewhat alarming how close these characters came.
I know.
Out.
Okay.
You've been porcelained.
I've been porcelained. Well, that's it, guys. I'm a frosted glass shower door from here on out.
It's been a fun stream, guys.
Been an honor, really.
They're back.
Regret.
If you keep your face like that, it'll stay that way. Okay. So I think that taking a look at kind of this Victorian dollhouse, you realize that basically the way the dollhouse kind of works oftentimes is it swings on a pivot, right? So the idea is that there is a section of the house on which it kind of opens to the world. And I think that and kind of like opens to the viewer such that you can kind of like pull it open. And I think that y'all's research kind of bore this out as well, that when you kind of opened or at least attempted to open the Victorian dollhouse, it seemed to have a hinge on one side. And I think that kind of what is interesting about that trivia for you is that I think that for you, Jamie, not only was there that hinge, but also it was unique in that you could pull the roof off of it to basically kind of investigate the top, a bird's eye view of the house as well. So you could do it one of two ways. It seemed to be kind of like hitched to this swinging hinge, two parts of this roof. It's very strange how this kind of worked. But the thing that you remember about a lot of these houses is that the largest room is the attic, or is kind of like this second or room on the second or the higher floor. It seems almost as if it's designed to kind of draw in the perspective of someone looking over top of it. So with that trivia, that's what you get with regard to actual Victorian, Gothic houses or, doll houses. For history, I will say, Janie, history, as you're kind of like taking this in, I think the thing that is interesting to you about this place is, as you've done more research on it, there is, I think this is more in line with the history of the Bureau and with the idea of liminal spaces. So, basically there is a motel in which a great deal of agents often find themselves, which represents kind of like a liminal space between planes of reality where someone can basically kind of find themselves at different points through the inside the oldest house. It is very possible, based on the context of this history, that there is that sort of possibility within the realms of the house itself. And I think that this also often kind of corroborates your ideas about astral planes as well, Dr. Bancroft, which is that, it's very possible that this place is its own threshold, which is basically saying it is a dimension unto itself, distinct from the oldest house, or basically what we think of as Earth as you know it.
Oh yeah, not familiar to the twins at all. Jane will turn to Dr. Bancroft and say, Dr. B, do you think this place could be its own threshold?
That's precisely what I was thinking, Jane. What do you know about thresholds?
Too much, some could say, but that's a conversation for another time. What room? Should we go to the room where we saw the kid when this was still just a dollhouse in the attic?
Oh, Zach, I'm so pleased that you have set circumstances such that I can ask this question. Can I spend a point in metaphysics for Dr. Bancroft to use her knowledge of how games and simulations are structured to try to strategize for where they should go?
Absolutely. So I will tell you this, on 1 point, you'll get kind of a general overview, but if you have 2 points to spend, you get something real juicy.
Ooh.
All right. That'll take all of my metaphysics points, but I'll do it.
Okay.
Do you have build points left over?
I do have build points left over. Yes, that's a good point.
All right.
Thank you, Puja.
You might want to hold on to those. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So if you think about this in the metaphysics of game logic, right? The idea is that oftentimes the protagonist has a fairly kind of revelatory experience that basically, it's kind of like, speaking kind of tangentially player to GM, It's kind of like the moment when Jesse enters the ashtray maze in Control, where it seems to be kind of like fairly, you have these moments where you have an introspective scene or an introspective kind of stage in a realm, or kind of like there's like surreal realms where you kind of enter a place that has a dreamlike logic to it. And that is kind of thresholds in a great deal of circumstances, yes. But the idea here is with that second point, you realize this is a ensemble game, i.e., there are more players than just one protagonist. So the idea at play in your mind is each of you have this moment, this kind of surreal revelation within this house, unique to each of you to represent a larger arc in your stories individually. And is there a way that, are those circumstances going to be deadly, or are they avoidable in such that you can bypass them to get to your objective? And I will tell you this, oftentimes these sorts of kind of scenes and moments have tangential benefits that can assist the players of those characters, or oftentimes they can tax their resources. Typically, in order to bypass individual scenes of such magnitude or scenarios, the easiest way for you to bypass them is to stay together. It's up to you to decide what makes the most sense in this circumstance.
Number one, I love all that. Thank you. That was beautiful. Number two, I think Vivian will turn to the rest of the party. Look, we're all in a kind of simulation, and that means within this threshold, we're not necessarily obeying rules that we're used to. We're obeying story logic. And story logic means that we as characters have to, I don't know, grow or do something significant individually, but then also together. That might not make a ton of sense, but if we're to get to the end of this narrative, that's what it's going to take. And I think it's going to take us staying together rather than splitting up. I think we're in more danger individually than we are together. Otherwise, it would be a protagonist-driven narrative, and it's not.
Okay, fine, but why do we have to go through some whole narrative? We have a goal. We need to find that kid, right? So let's go find the kid.
Right, but you have to understand that it's not as straightforward as point A to point B. You have to tick the boxes of the story in order for the house to give you that ending. Do you understand? You can't just take it. You have to earn it.
Gripes. Okay, so where do we find step one of this narrative construction?
Well, there's a linearity into the house, right? We're on the ground floor. There are 3 floors, and we found this object of power in the attic. That suggests a progression.
But we're not allowed to just go up to the attic, because that breaks the narrative.
Well, I mean, we could try, but presumably we'll be encountering things on each level. That would be my forecast.
Well, if we were doing this from a video game perspective, we'd start here and follow a pattern, clearing out rooms as we go, right?
Why are we assuming this is a video game?
Well, it's a simulation.
So? There's plenty of types of simulations. You never played a pick-your-own-adventure book.
Well, you see, it's interesting. That little girl, the little girl, Amelia, who's in here somewhere, she was reading books with her parents. And children's books are usually fairly straightforward when it comes to baseline narrative progression.
I will note, Dr. Katz, you have not made an investigative check yet. What would you like to do?
I don't know if there's anything that Katz really wants to do here. He's sort of thrown for a loop by this. This is an extremely uncomfortable situation. The logic and the rules here do not jibe with him. And he doesn't, there's nothing specific that he can latch onto, he thinks, in this moment.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there some sort of thing that you would think to kind of like pull this idea down back to Katz's level?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
Okay.
I'm cool just moving on.
All right. So
because I the player the player cannot think of anything, and Katz is totally thrown. He just had a near-death experience and now is being told that there is no, in his world, logical way to progress in the task that they have been given. And that's rough stuff for our boy.
Jamie just doesn't believe it. He spent his whole life finding shortcuts, loopholes, all the little nooks and crannies that people forget about. Forgotten rooms, unused passages, back doors. Like, he doesn't see why that shouldn't apply to a narrative, even if we're trapped in some sort of story.
It sounds like you are trying to either make an investigative ability go to work for you, or to make a roll. What would you like to do?
Jamie wants to. Yeah, actually, yeah. Jamie Jamie wants to. I think Jamie is gonna. Is there a kitchen in this bottom floor, or is this that kind of?
Yeah, as you kind of wander through, I think that you do kind of see off to one side a fairly stately looking kitchen, at least from one kind of corner as it enters into the room. What do you do?
Jamie walks in and looks for a knife, probably the biggest one he can find.
Okay. There seems to be, as you enter into the room, there is a figure, a feminine figure, bent over a cutting board with a knife in hand, and she seems to be frozen stock still. However, she does not seem to be porcelainified. She seems to be completely stationary and just unmoving.
Maybe he's gonna poke her in the side of the head.
As you poke this woman, she is youngish. She's about 30 something, late 30s probably. And as you kind of poke her, as your finger touches flesh, it seems to be fairly rigid where you touch, as if she is in some sort of suspended animation.
Gross. Can I take the knife?
You may certainly try to wrench it from her hands. I will need you to just kind of like very quickly do a athletic roll. I'm not anticipating this is going to be hard, but I still need you to roll.
4. I didn't put anything into it.
Okay. I think with a 4, you very much begin peeling the fingers back, and it takes a lot of effort to basically open the hand enough that the handle begins to kind of slide around in the grip, and you can slowly but surely pull out the chef's knife in her hand.
So is the staircase is there? The staircase there, it's visible, right?
Oh yeah, you were literally in the opening kind of like hallway of the antechamber of this manor.
Jamie's looking for wherever behind the staircase or to the side of it.
Okay. So you're looking for kind of like a kind
wall,
of like a butler's closet, something along those lines, or a pantry?
not even necessarily a closet, honestly, just a wall that abuts the staircase.
Absolutely. You find it.
All right, I'd like to jam that knife into what I imagine is fancy wallpaper and begin cutting a door shape into the space that would lead into below the staircase.
Okay. All right. I will tell you this. Yeah, no, I don't think I need to give you a roll here. I think that you very quickly do this. And what do you do once you have cut this shape?
What's underneath the wallpaper?
Okay. You're pulling it back. All right.
Yeah, I think Jamie kind of does a quick and then rips the wallpaper down.
As you look through this kind of this cut in the wallpaper, you see a realm in which it would seem there are a number of kind of platforms, black with glittering gold. Off in the distance, far, far away, you see the inverted pyramid shape that is very familiar to you, which is kind of like the shape that it is assumed that the kind of the board has taken for those who travel to the astral plane. And as you kind of look over his shoulder, Dr. Bancroft, you recognize very clearly from the scope and kind of like kind of graphs and kind of like the visual surveillance that you have recorded of astral dives. This is an entry to the astral plane.
But how? None of us are suited up for this. No one's done any projection. How can we be here? That's the astral plane.
People always forget about staircases. There's something underneath them. There's got to be.
What do you guys do?
What's the outside look like?
The outside? How do you mean? Like looking from through the windows?
No, how's the outside? So we're looking out into the astral plane. Can we see the house? Can I see the underside of the stairs? Or is it just a gaping hole into the astral plane like a window?
The second one. There is, however, a path leading down deeper into it.
Maybe this is our exit strategy. Maybe we get the family and we get them into the astral plane.
Or is this the start of your narrative?
Perhaps it's both. Beginning and the end.
Circular. Neat.
We're in a kitchen, right?
Yep.
Have we like all moved?
I think Jane at this point has been trying to look around based on everything that's happened today for either a television or a radio or something electronic that communicates.
Okay. I will say this. On the other side of the kitchen, on the other side of the stairwell, there is the living room.
All right. Well, while we're trying to figure out whether we're going into the plane now or later, I think Jane wants to go look if she sees the living room and she sees a radio or a TV or anything. She's going to turn it on.
As you move to once again kind of switch on the television, it flicks on of its own accord, and you get the idea. You have heard this before. So as you kind of hear the theme end, again, you see that little porcelain girl doll looking back out from the TV. Hello? You're here.
Hi, where are you?
Well, I think I'm in a different places, maybe more than one. I'm not sure. It just seems different. It's weird.
All right, that's okay. We're here now. We're come to get you. If you could tell us anything about what you can see or hear, that might help get us to you faster.
Well, I thought I was in the attic, but I'm also in this weird place, and it's like there's somebody that's talking all the time, and there's another person that's talking, and they're really loud and very angry, and there's I think my parents are here, but I can't move them or do anything, and I think it's watching me.
Oh, okay. Dr. B. Assuming Dr. B moved over when she heard the girl's voice.
Oh.
All right. Well, we're coming to get you. I think we might have seen your mom already. But we're gonna come to you. And I think under her breath she's gonna say, like, does this whole voice and arguing and yelling thing give you any indication of where she's gonna be? Does that mean anything to you?
I will give this to you guys for free. As she's talking about the yelling and the arguing, she's talking about the hiss.
Okay.
Hiss is kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Everywhere
exactly
and
narrow it.
nowhere. You know, I've been thinking of something. And I think Vivian is struck by a sudden idea, and she walks back to the kitchen. I've been thinking about, you know, those strange things that the janitor says. OT. One of the things that he said to Katz and I was something about soup. He said, the bold drink the soup. I think she looks around the kitchen for any sign of soup.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can go ahead and give me a cursory look. You guys are very intelligent investigators. I will say that you can find a bowl of soup, or not a bowl of soup, a can of soup in the cupboard above where the woman had the kitchen knife and was trying to chop.
I think she will open this can of soup and like look for a bowl and a spoon and just like create this little dish and kind of huddle with the other three.
Okay.
This might sound a little insane, but thresholds operate on their own logic.
Yes,
and Odie seems to understand that logic. I've always thought that Odie makes the most sense, but we're just not on the right frequency or wavelength to understand him. Maybe this is the right one. And maybe Odie has seen this before. She holds the spoon to her lips.
Okay.
Here goes nothing.
Okay. I have to reward this. There's no way around it. So I will ask you this before you do this. Are you using the one spoon, or are you like setting out 4, expecting everybody to take a drink? What are you doing?
I think that's the idea. Like she's got everyone a spoon, but she's like expressing her willingness to go first, effectively.
I was really worried we were gonna have to chuck a spoon into a volcano there for a second.
Okay. So you're about to go first. Are you waiting for everybody to like grab their spoons? What are you doing?
I think having the kind of ensemble thing in her head, she like immediately at first, being that she's very take charge and individual, she like goes to do it, but then like has a moment of hesitation.
Okay.
No, there's nothing to say that I would go the same place the rest of you would. I think we need to drink it together.
All right.
Okay, we're stopping for soup.
I mean, is that really the weirdest thing we've done today?
It technically is a snack.
It is a snack. All right, you had me at snack.
Okay, wait a second.
Jane grabs this food.
Yeah, Jamie is just 100% on board as well. Like, I think once Jane is like, sure, Jamie's like, oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
Free soup.
Okay, wait a second. Let's think about this logically for just a split second.
Myron,
Just a moment.
do you trust me?
Your soup.
If it helps, the two of us have definitely had a lot of food in weird places, including thresholds. So it's fine.
Okay. No. Hold on. Okay. We're creating a ritual. Rule of threes. That's the one thing that the researchers in the ritual division always say. Rule of threes, right?
That's true.
Okay. So, a little bit of logic, a little bit of order. Let's apply rule of threes. 3 spoonfuls, 3 sips.
I think that's actually a very beneficial note. Thank you. She looks very surprised.
Okay, see, I'm not just saying things to be contrarian, okay?
Jamie's sitting there and clearly like is not very well disguising the frustration in his face as he's just waiting to eat this fucking soup. And you guys are being
Jane has a hand on his hand to make sure he doesn't sneak some up.
Okay.
All right, on 3?
On 3, 3 sips of the soup each.
All righty.
Okay.
This better be good.
As you begin to count, you hear the hiss grow louder around the walls around you. You hear,
We stand around you while you dream. You can almost hear our words, but you forget. This happens more and more now.
and you take the next sip of the soup. Or do you take the first sip, I should say.
Is it good?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I will say it's good. It's chunky. It's very satisfying.
Chunky with no other context is not necessarily good.
The only thing we need to know, Hopper, is that it's good soup.
Yeah, exactly. It's good soup. And the first sip, that loud voice gets even more insistent. It says,
We wait in the stains. The word that describes this is redacted.
do you continue with the second sip?
They don't like this. We should keep going.
All right.
Technically, if we do 3 to the third power, we do 9 sips of soup.
That's too much work.
Sorry, to the second power. Or we could do 27 for the third.
No.
Second
I think
sip.
we're going to call it at 3.
3 is the number that shall be counted. The number of counting shall be 3.
Shall be 3.
Repeat the word, the name of the sound.
And once again, it gets even louder and more intense, and you hear a scraping along the walls of something heavy moving over the boards. Do you take the third sip?
This is the most menacing soup I've ever eaten in my entire life.
We take that sip.
Yep.
And finally,
It resonates in your house. After the song, time for applause.
and you find all of yourselves in the attic staring at a massive bloated porcelain figure as though there was something there before and it got blown out as if by a manic crazed glass blower, and you are facing a hiss corrupted doll, and I need everybody to tell me what they are doing.
I drop my spoon.
think Vivian still got hers like at her lips, and her eyes are like wide, staring at this doll.
I will tell you this: behind the his corrupted doll, you see a model version of the dollhouse inside the dollhouse on a plinth, and beside it is a life-sized porcelain doll with short black hair and a bow that matches the Amelia that has been speaking to you through the television.
Mm-hmm.
Is the his doll moving?
It is moving towards you. It is large, bloated, and angry. If it were not so misshapen in lumps around its face, it would resemble a very large, bloated cherub doll.
Can Jane quickly
Out
look over?
Out of the way.
Can Jane quickly look over their shoulder to see if there's like a strategic retreat, cover, anything?
There is the door to the attic that was, you realize you have kind of moved up to the final top story of the house, and the door is beginning to close behind you. What do you do?
Is there furniture along the side?
I will say that furniture along the side, it is very similar to the attic in which you found the house, except
I was about to ask.
Yeah.
All right. I think Jane wants to start grabbing. Well, Jane's gonna start shooting, but she's gonna yell to Katz, "Find a way to slow it down. Put shit in its way." And start shooting and kind of like trying to create space between them.
Okay.
Like, start pulling down couches, buddy.
I have to ask, is anybody scuffling above an 8?
I am at 8.
Okay.
I'm not fighting.
Okay.
I think Jamie is taking this opportunity to shove the spoon in his waistband and is going to try to stealth around.
Okay.
Is going to try to dodge and roll and get break line of sight behind like some furniture, and is trying to head towards the little girl.
Okay. So I will tell you this, Janie, it is engaged by you because you have drawn its attention. What are Dr. Katz and Dr. Bancroft doing?
I think before anything else, just it is one fluid motion. I think Vivian pulls something out of her pocket. It's what looks like a folded photograph. And she turns to Myron and she says very quickly, "Myron, in case I want you to have this." And she shoves the photo in his back pocket.
And he just takes the photo, puts his hand on his back pocket, looks at her like, "What?"
Yeah, and she shoots you one significant look back, and she's already moving towards where Jamie's headed, towards the little girl.
Yep.
Okay.
And Katz is moving in a different direction.
All right. So in that case, I need you, Janie, to go ahead and roll your shooting. You are going to beat this thing in the initiative order, but it has all of its attention on you.
Oh, this can only end well. Okay, all right. I don't have that much left, y'all. It's okay. It's a 4 on the die plus 1 to roll. That's 5, and I used 2 of my shootings, so 7.
Yes, that is enough to hit. Go ahead and roll damage. Make sure to add 1 for your M83.
What is damage again?
Damage is 1d6, so make sure to just add 1 to that.
All right, so 4 on the die plus 1. Fine.
Okay. So it seems to absorb a bit of it, but the impact hits it, and it's going to basically, with its cherubic face, swollen in parts as if from drastic, terrible heat, it is going to reach forward this massive kind of fragmented arm that is porcelain and yet again swollen in parts, almost tumescent, and it is going to try to rake them across you. It is going to roll to hit you with scuffling. It's going to spend 2 points. It rolled a 1. So as you, I think this thing tries to rake its hand right across where your HRA is, you take a deft step back.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dr. Katz, I think you are also the closest while the other two are working on getting to the doll.
Yeah, so Katz is listening to Jane. Katz, shoves this photo further into his the back pocket of his coat or side pocket of his coat, whatever, and peels off to the side to start knocking furniture in the attic, either sliding it into the path of this thing in between where it is going towards Jane at the back of the attic at that door, or wardrobes or whatever that have more height on them, toppling them over either into its path or on top of it.
Excellent. Okay. Go ahead and I think this is preparedness. So give me a roll for preparedness to see how well you can obstruct this. If you succeed, cool. You are going to give it a kind of a negative threshold for its rolls.
Okay. I am going to spend, I got a bunch of preparedness. I'm going to spend a whole 4 on this.
Okay.
Ooh.
Very nice. Cool.
And we'll see what that gets me. 2 on the dice for 6.
Awesome. That's what you needed. Yeah, you just start pulling things in its way. As Janie dances back, I think you shove an old kind of sheet covered dresser in its path. And not only that, you begin kind of knocking things down. Janie, this is giving you an opportunity. It is going to have -1 to its scuffle rolls moving forward to try to attack Janie.
Yeah, and I think Katz shouts to Janie, "We don't have a lot of space in here. We're gonna have to lead it around in a circle."
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, what are Jamie and Dr. Bancroft doing?
Jamie's basically trying to flank it and get either behind the dollhouse or to the child.
Okay. So yeah, give me an athletics roll, because I think that this is just going to set you up for whatever you want to do. Threshold's not going to be high, but you still need to hit it.
All right, I'm gonna spend my remaining 2 points.
Okay.
Well, actually, I have some float. Whatever, I have floating. I'll save that. That's a 4 on the dice, so a total of 6.
Awesome. Again, doing very well. You get where you need to be. What does this look like for you, Dr. Bancroft?
I think Vivian is headed towards the child. That's kind of her priority, her goal. And so it's probably a similar athletics roll would be my guess.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and give me that athletics roll to try to hurdle and get to there. Threshold is still going to be, you don't know kind of how much. I think that Jamie is setting you up very well, though. We'll see how you do.
Okay. I will put a point of this into my athletics point into it.
Okay.
That's a 5, so 6 total.
Okay. Yeah, I think both of you managed to kind of hurdle through this kind of obstacle course of covered bric-a-brac, and you find yourselves right where you need to be by the dollhouse and by the doll of Amelia, ostensibly. Okay. So I'm going to say that that's your turn. We're going to stop back at the top again. Janie, you have just missed this thing raking across and pulling your HRA off of your body. What are you going to do?
Jane is going to try to scramble around or kind of behind some of the overturned furniture because Kat said we need to circle around it, and so she's gonna try to circle around.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and give me another athletics roll. You're gonna have +1 bonus to this because it seems to be completely impaired. And not only that, but I think that Dr. Katz has kind of set up the space for you a bit.
Well, that is great. So that's a 2 on the die, but I put 1 in from the pool, and then you said +1, so 4.
Okay. I will say 4 is enough for what you need. Again, once again, that like way has been cleared for you. You do manage to get behind it. So I will say that that was your movement. Is there anything else that you want to try to do here?
Kind of yell over to the other two. What's the plan here? I don't know if we can shoot this one away.
Okay. So as you say that, it's going to try to wheel about, again, kind of making that awful noise while also reciting like the hiss chant. But at that like base, like that sound of grinding porcelain, and it turns, and it once again, I think what it's going to do actually this point is it is going to shove that one wardrobe away from it. It's going to use its athletics roll to clear a path to you, Janie. It is probably going to throw it into Myron. So I am going to spend 2 points of its athletics. This is going to be a fairly high roll. We'll see how it does. Okay, I'm not making this up. Another 1. So yeah, I think again.
Oh no, I'm so sad.
I just can't believe I'm rolling this. It throws the wardrobe over to one side. It gets thrown wide and it just impacts the wall to your right, Myron. And you just see the bric-a-brac from the force just completely shatter. The wardrobe completely falls into planks. However, you are miraculously unscathed. What do you do?
We may not be able to shoot it down, but we can sure as hell distract it. And Katz will draw that sidearm again. And if it sort of like pushed the wardrobe like behind it or off to the side as it was going in Jane's direction, Katz is going to try to like circle around and just sort of like take pot shots at it, such that, you know, it might just sort of circle back. My goal here is to basically keep it kind of ping-ponging between the two of us.
Okay.
And hopefully it's just circling back and forth while the other two do what they can.
Okay, you got it.
With the dollhouse and the girl.
Awesome. You got to hit
Jamie has a flash of inspiration, just yells, "Make a hole in it."
I love where your head's at. Go ahead and you gotta hit it first. I will tell you this: if you want to shoot it in the same spot that Janie shot it, it's going to be a higher threshold of difficulty. Normally, it takes 4 to hit this thing. It's going to take 5 if you want to hit it in the hole that Janie has like punched through it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm gonna punch a hole in this thing, I gotta hit it where it's already been weakened. So I will try to do that. I have 2 in shooting, and I'm gonna spend both of them.
Okay, give me that
So
roll.
I think is that 3 with the firearm or no?
I was gonna say it's gonna be with the firearm. You are using a regular sidearm. You are not using an M83.
Oh.
Okay, so just 2.
Yeah, so you just the 2. Go ahead and roll.
Well, I got a 5.
Ooh.
So
For 7.
yeah, describe what this looks like as the very lazy words of the Ranger Training Academy administrator echo through your mind from the obstacle course. Okay, ready, Rangers. What goes through your head?
Yeah, I think Katz remembers back to the Ranger course, the field training. We get like a moment of him like really, really concentrating very hard on a target that is moving around and there's lights flashing, and he like narrows his eyes and sticking his tongue out a little, and he gets off a shot.
Awesome.
And it doesn't even go anywhere close to the target. It's not even remotely near the target. It like pings off the wall behind it. And then we cut back to the present day. Katz looks over to Jamie, looks back at the at like maybe a little chip area in this sort of bulbous mass, and just fires wildly with reckless abandon at it. And one of the bullets, as he just empties the clip on this handgun, pings right off that spot that Jane shot.
And I will say this, like when you hit that part of the porcelain where Jane previously impacted, it had started to kind of like spider web fracture around the bullet, and a massive just cavity gets punched into the kind of like this center mass here of the creature. Once again, it bellows as it kind of like begins flailing where it's been shot.
Okay, we got a hole in it, kid. What's part 2 of the plan?
Yeah, and now I think it's Dr. Bancroft and followed by Jamie. Dr. Bancroft, what are you gonna do?
I think Vivian turns to Jamie and very hurriedly says, think about it for 1 second. Why are the board telling us to protect this family? What do the Hiss want with the girl? They are the family, but they are also the Nexus, and that means they have power. Power that the Dollhouse Sanctuary has encased in porcelain, in this doll form, like an armor of some kind, like a shield. But it's power they have that we can use against the Hiss. So we have to release it. We have to release her from this shape. And then maybe they can help us. Maybe her and her parents.
Okay.
That's a big old wrist, Doc.
All right.
Calculated risks are important.
All right, Dr. Bancroft.
Speaking of,
I
think as Bancroft says that, Jamie is gonna just let her do her thing, and we're definitely not gonna we'll grab that frag grenade and unpin it and hold it in one hand.
Okay.
Yay, grenades!
All right. All right, this is Chekhov's grenade. So what I need you to do, and this is super important, is you need to make an athletics roll to deposit. You can either use athletics or you can use scuffling. It probably sounds like scuffling.
May I make an argument for Filch?
You may totally make an argument for Filch.
My argument is that Jamie is not doing this, is not like lobbing this in there.
He's not his sister.
He's not his sister. Jamie's good at being a less than person. Jamie's good at being a shadow, a unnoticed, and the awkward background person. And Jamie's just gonna kind of vault over a piece of furniture, just kind of walk up and wait until this thing is kind of in the middle of its bellowing again, and just walk in and jam his hand into it and drop a frag grenade right in there.
All right. So once again, our kind of like our challenges can go from 2 to 8. Spend however many points of Filch that you want to spend.
Well, I have 8 points, so
empty the clip. Empty the clip.
This is 100%. Well, this is 100% the Fallout reverse pickpocketing a live grenade onto somebody. That is literally what Jamie is trying to do. And so yeah, I think you just watch Jamie walk up. I'm just gonna spend. I'll spend 6 points.
Okay.
Or 7 points, so I can't fail.
Okay. All right. You spend 7 points. Describe.
Just out of.
Yeah.
Just off the table. Fuck me, that's a 6 on the dice. So that's that's a 13.
Yeah. So describe what this looks like for me.
You cooked that grenade.
Yeah, I think Jamie just waits. Jamie just kind of vaults over and lets the handle go, And then as the thing bellows and kind of it's this massive porcelain body just kind of rippling and flexing in an unnaturally, in a way that ceramic shouldn't be able to do. And Jamie just kind of scoots down and then just reaches, like basically reaches right inside this spider-webbed hole and just kind of thump, and lets go before turning and trying to putting his back to the whole thing and covering his eyes.
Okay. Roll a d6 and add, I'm going to say add 6 to it.
Okay. Well, it's kind of cocked, but it's a 3, so I'll allow it.
Okay. You'll allow it? Appreciate that.
9.
9. Yeah,
All right.
It's 9 total.
You see a massive portion of this thing as you've deposited it just gets completely, it detonates and the impact, it just shatters this body that it turns out was not just porcelain, but past that armor, some sort of strange kind of like almost hiss gore and viscera as it kind of like I think erupts, and then it falls on the knees, basically this kind of half torso that's been carved out by the fragmented grenade. It takes the remaining arm and places it on the ground as if to steady itself before basically, and this is all without like the upper right half of the torso or a head, and then it just slumps forward. And as it does, it's as if this kind of heat mirage shimmers and the remains disappear.
The remains were taking up too much graphics computing power.
Hey, take that up. Take it up with control. That's exactly what happens, pixel for pixel, to dead hiss. Okay. All right. You do not know how much time you have bought, but you have taken care of this obstacle. What are you gonna do?
I think we got it.
I will say this, Janie, your eye was on the door before. It has not opened.
I think it's gone for now.
What?
Dr. Bancroft, the girl.
Everybody's got tinnitus. I get it.
Okay. Dr. Bancroft, the girl.
I think taking advantage of this momentary lull, Dr. Bancroft is going to take off her HRA and put the HRA on the doll, on the girl.
Okay. So, I need to roll something real quick. Okay. So a few things happen. All of you see Dr. Bancroft take her HRA off and put it on the doll. Dr. Bancroft, as you do this, you begin hearing that chant, not just from the walls, but inside your head. And once again, you just hear. Hold on.
Orange peel. The picture is you holding the picture. When you hear this, you will know you're in new you. You want to listen. You want to dream. You want to smile.
It's beginning to invade your head, Dr. Bancroft, and instinctually you raise your hands to your head and begin gripping your temples, and I think at this point, Myron, you see a truck pass over someplace else. Dr. Katz, you see Dr. Bancroft fall to her knees, gripping her temples. And as you kind of rush forward, Dr. Bancroft, it is about to split your head open. The sound of this awful, terrible, awful chant, this atonal non-poetry. And then you feel a set of small porcelain hands affixed to your temples, and you see the red light around all of you begin to shudder, as if something kind of like was pulling it away from you, and you hear just this incredible, intense, concussive sound. The red light fades, and you find all of you are standing in Black Rock Quarry, and looking at you, her hand on a miniature dollhouse, the same one that you observed moments ago, is Director Faden. And next to you is a little girl who has essentially, Amelia has affixed her hands to your temples, and is staring at you, making sure to keep her hands there very intently, very tightly for this little girl. And her parents are also kind of gripping her shoulders very carefully and very tightly. All of you kind of are witness to this scene, and Director Faden looks at all of you and says, "I'm so glad I finally made it down here. Are all of you okay?" You realize,
Vivian.
yeah.
And Katz kind of ignores her, and rushes over to Dr. Bancroft. How is she?
Dr. Bancroft, you get the sense that it is very important that this little girl keep her hands on your temples.
Is the little girl wearing the HRA?
She is.
Okay. Hey, Vivian, are you with me? God, that was stupid.
Vivian, you hear Dr. Katz. You no longer hear that awful tone poem. What do you do?
I think she looks up at Myron and smiles weakly. We're out.
Yeah, we're out. We're out. You were gonna do that the whole time.
I had to.
You didn't think to say anything about it?
You would have stopped me.
Director Faden looks at all of you and says, I'm sorry. I feel like I missed something. What's going on?"
Director, the object of power, it's contained? You tamed it or whatever?
Well, I don't know if it's contained. I think it's no longer corrupted. Whatever it was.
No one's inside it anymore, so it's done.
Yeah, but usually when I do this, I learn something new. It seems like that's not the case here. And she kind of looks down at the little girl. And she looks at all of you, and then she says, "I need everybody to stay here. We're going to go to that ranger station. Everybody make sure you're touching her. I need Emily Pope down here, stat." And do all of you kind of follow these directions?
Yeah.
Yep. I'll touch your little hair bow.
Jamie seems very hesitant.
As
Jade's gonna grab his hand. No, sir. Nope. Sorry, you have annoying twins gonna make you do it.
Fair. Valid.
And as you guys begin moving, just being wary of your surroundings, she lifts a hand and you watch as just a massive chunk of debris from the Black Rock Quarry forms a protective shield around you as you move. And she's doing this while holding her hand and barely kind of maintaining concentration on it, moving closely to the lift. Where you, as soon as you guys take the lift up to the ranger station, at the very top of that level, you see Langley flanked by a couple of other senior rangers, one of whom is administering medical care. And you hear Langley just say to Myron, "Oh, thank God you made it. Okay, I'm gonna pass out now." Yeah,
that's fair.
And as soon as you say, "Yeah, same to you," he's just And I think all of you have this moment while you wait for the next team of rangers and presumably Emily Pope to accompany you down. What are all of you doing?
So I still don't know what all of that was about.
And
that's the FBC, kid.
And at some point, when I will say this, with all of your kind of persistent kind of like perception as perceptive investigators, one of the things that all of you hear as Jesse contacts Emily Pope, she says, "I need a team of rangers down here, and can you bring 5 HRAs at least? I don't know how many we're going to need, but immediately." And when you find, like, yeah, so there's that you hear. What else are you guys kind of like doing now that you're having this moment of rest?
Jamie is snapping pictures. He's kind of got the assault rifle slung back over his shoulder, and is just and it's now unslung the camera and is just snapping pictures of everybody and everything, just kind of like this in a way that is somehow both intrusive but very innocuous.
Mm-hmm.
Jane, oh god.
No, go ahead.
So Jane has pulled out a protein bar from an inner pocket of her jacket and is now eating it.
Of course, yes. Protein. Yeah.
She will offer half of it to Katz. Katz has had a rough day too.
Yeah, thanks. Snacks. Snacks. Yeah.
Snacks.
And Katz sees Jamie taking photos. There's like a flash and in his face, and Katz is very annoyed. But then seems to remember. Oh, wait. Pats down his pockets and pulls out the. I think in the heat of things now, fairly crumpled photograph that Dr. Bancroft shoved into his hands, and goes back over to Vivian, wherever she's resting, presumably, I don't know, with the kid touching her head.
I'm assuming until the extra HRAs get there, that's sort of the order of the day.
And sort of unfolds and kind of smooths the photo and hands it back to her, face up. Here, your photo.
What does the photo depict, Dr. Bancroft?
So you instantly realize that this is the photo that was in the frame that was face down in her office the first time we did kind of a pan of where the characters each were. This particular photo appears to have been taken mid-argument, as both Vivian and Myron are in profile, their faces away from the camera and toward each other. Vivian is leaning forward, her face seems to be contorted in passionate defense of something. And Myron is leaning forward as well with a finger up, his face set, apparently shouting.
Okay.
And I think as she goes to take it back from Myron, her hand is shaking. I kept it. I know we took proper portraits where we're smiling, and objectively, objectively, that's what I should have framed, but I was sitting there with them and I was trying to pick one. I just felt...
You kept the real one.
I knew what I felt in this one. I don't even remember what we were arguing about. I think the portrait photographer just got frustrated that we interrupted the session and started clicking.
And as Katz passes the photograph back into your hand, Vivian, he takes his other hand and places it on top of yours as you hold the photo, and just sort of holds it there.
I think she chances at this, she's been kind of narrating this to the floor as this exchange has happened, but she chances a look up at Myron. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. Glad you're okay too.
As you have this moment, there is a bustle of activity from deep in maintenance. You begin hearing the sound of movement, occasional spouts of gunfire, but eventually it is overtaken by quiet as you see a just phalanx of rangers moving into position to this ranger station in Black Rock Quarry, flanking or kind of like basically surrounded by the rangers, all of them suited in HRAs, carrying extras. You see Simon Arish, the acting head of security, as well as Emily Pope, the acting head of research. She is carrying a clipboard and is smartly suited with a short sleeve white shirt and tie. He is dressed very much the same with a kind of long white shirt. And they move lockstep very quickly to you, at which point the very first thing that I think Emily does is begins outfitting each of the parents as well as Dr. Bancroft with HRAs. Janie, as you are kind of like taking this into consideration, I think Emily Pope takes a look down at your HRA and says, "Oh my God, everybody back, everybody back." Janie, the wire that is connecting your HRA, that duct tape wire has come undone.
Oh.
And literally at which point all of the rangers train their guns on you, looking at you, and at which point one of them says, "Is she gonna turn? We should open fire now, right?" And then the little
Jamie's pointing his gun at whoever just said that.
And then from the middle of all of you, the little girl says, "I don't hear them." And Jesse looks at her. Director Faden says, "Well, what do you hear?" And she goes, it's weird. It's do. Ooh.
Oh, no.
And Jesse, all of these incredibly tense, gun trained, like very trained professionals with their guns trained on you, all look expectantly at Director Faden, who looks at all of them and says, "Sounds good to me." And all of them lower their weapons. And
gonna need a new pair of pants. Anybody?
At which point, I think we kind of fade out on this moment as the teams begin moving all of you to the executive sector, where basically there is kind of like the headquarters for all of the remaining surviving members of the team. If anybody would like to have any last scenes before we conclude, this is the time.
Yeah, I think Jane is going to want to talk to Jamie, but it's probably going to be after everything dies down. So I don't know how far we're moving ahead. But I think once everything is normal enough to where they can have a quiet moment, Jane is going to go up to Jamie and ask him, Jamie, with the director gone, we don't really have a reason to stay here.
I mean, you don't. I don't like it out there.
I'm not leaving you alone in here.
Shouldn't be stuck here just because me, though. That ain't fair.
It's not stuck. I got up to plenty of no good on my own, as I'm sure you saw.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, let's make a deal. If we're gonna stay, they're gonna have to pay.
Oh, fuck yes. They definitely have to pay us for this.
All right. I almost got shot at by 10 Rangers and I don't get paid. That's some bullshit.
I realize we ain't exactly in the normal chain of command and OSHA don't really cover us, but we should probably be getting paid.
Yeah. All right. We'll negotiate something once the new director settled in, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think it means that she couldn't hear us, that she just heard the sound? I've been thinking about it.
What do you think it means? I think you have a better head for this than I do.
Do you think we're still us?
Or are we? I mean, I don't know. Are we still us? Did we ever make it out?
I don't know.
Well, hey, if we're stuck, at least we're stuck together.
And I think Jamie just hugs Jane. It's just like a very relieved.
Yeah.
And I think over the next few hours, as all of you take a rest, especially, I think Myron, I think you probably just collapsed from exhaustion at some point, but at some point
poor buddy.
Later, when all of you kind of come to and begin kind of recuperating in the executive sector, there is a moment where Emily Pope is seemingly speaking very softly and very gently to Amelia, and Jesse is talking very kind of furtively and quietly with her, and there is a point where Emily points to one of the colleagues of the FBC, a young woman who is floating in the middle of the air, quietly chanting the words of the Hiss poem. And all of you have, up to this point, as soon as you have had time to recuperate, have found out how impossible it will be for you guys to leave the oldest house until the Hiss is cleared out, so to speak, if it truly can be. And Emily points the little girl at the floating individual, and her parents kind of seemingly look, you know, I think trepidatiously to each other, and then look back at Emily, and who seems to be waiting for their approval, and they nod. And Emily takes the little girl's hand and lifts her up to reach the Hiss controlled woman floating in the middle of the air. And the little girl, in her little hand, takes the palm of this woman, and you watch as she slowly lowers back to earth and to the floor of the executive sector, looks dazed, and you see Simon Arish rush forward with an HRA and cinch it around her waist. And as the little girl takes her hand away, the woman seems to recover and look Emily Pope in the eye, and for the first time she says a set of words that are not a part of the poem. What happened? And at some point all of you meet with the director, and she says, in all of you, in this very strange kind of halting speech, as though she's sincerely kind of like very slowly considering her words every time she talks to you, she says, I don't think I really could have done this without you. I think your expertise was incredibly important to this. With your help, I think we have a hope for a way out of here. And then there's this moment where she seems like in contemplative thought, and all of you hear as she's looking at you kind of almost placidly, but then you knew that already, didn't you? And that is where we're going to end the Dollhouse. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Fright of Fandom. I cannot believe I didn't kill any of you. I was earnestly trying.
I mean,
we got close.
Yeah, we got close.
Not
Chekhov's grenade to the rescue.
I was gonna say close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
And guess what, motherfuckers? We got hand grenades.
So guys, thanks so much. We're just going to go ahead and end tonight with shout outs and plugs, starting in the same order as cast introductions. So David, shout outs, plugs.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us for the Dollhouse, our control flight. This was a delight. Thank you to everybody who watched along, everybody who is in chat, the cast, of course. Y'all are amazing to play with. Zach, GM extraordinaire. I've been David. You can check out games that I do over at dbb-8.itch.io, including some that we've played right here on this very channel on Flights of Fandom. My Instagram and Twitter are at dbrunelbrutman if you want to follow me over there. And that does it for me, I think.
Awesome. Marissa, if you'd like to do shout outs and plugs.
Yeah, echoing all of that. I'm already like, when can we come back to this story? Because I love it so much. Thanks to everyone who's been a part of this cast, Zach, everyone in chat who's been watching. It was fantastic, and I had an amazing time. So thank you for that. The meta aside, although I did love the meta, that spoke to my Marissa heart. shout outs and plugs. If you like this kind of surrealist thing, you might like Invisible Sun and our actual play The Hole in the World, which takes place every other Sunday at 4:30 here on the Manapot Studios channel. So if you've never heard of Invisible Sun and are like, what's that? Or in general, just like cool surrealist, usually somewhat philosophical stuff, or not philosophical stuff, there's also just some shooting and delightfulness from other people on the cast. So come check us out at that time, at that place. It's a wild ride and you don't want to miss it. Yeah, that should be it for me.
Awesome. Hopper, shout outs, plugs.
Well, hello there. I have been and will continue to be Hopper. Sorry about that. And like Marissa said, you can find me and Zach over on the Hole in the World stream every other Sunday. I'd like to throw another shout out to our good friend Jeff Stormer, any award-winning game designer and podcast host Jeff Stormer, our New Jersey Webfest winning podcast host, all that. He's awesome.
Can't remember all of it.
There's just too many accolades. He's too great. We have a ton of amazing people here on this show and on this channel, and a lot of different projects by so many talented folks. That's it for me.
Awesome. Puja, shout outs and plugs.
Hello, everybody. I am Puja, and you can find me on the internet at Puja on Twitter and at Pujapperwalkie on Instagram and in the Twitch chat. And because I hate myself, I have continuously been filling up my free time with all the tabletop RPG because escapism is great. And let's do a very quick rundown of what I'm on. For the rest of this week, nothing, because I am headed to New York City to see this batch of fools for the first time for most of them in the flesh space. I'm very excited about that. But next Tuesday, you can find me right here on this channel for our brand new November flight of fandom in the Duneverse. Yes, we planned this well before the movie came out, so and I'm very excited about it, and so is my inner 13-year-old self. And David will be playing with me, and then several other cast members from this show that you know and love, and a very brand new DM that I believe will be making his Flight to Fandom debut, and a brand new player. Good times all around. Come back next Tuesday. It'll be great.
Yeah. And I should just throw in that we're going to be playing the official Dune RPG, which was theoretically released in conjunction with the movie, but actually came out before the movie because all the release schedules for everything changed.
Yeah.
But,
thanks, pandemic.
If you dug the movie, if you are a longtime fan of the book, and if you want to some degree get a sense of what the official Dune RPG is about, and more realistically just see our hopefully very sober and thematically consistent take on the Dune universe, you're going to want to tune in next week.
Yes, I'm known for sober and thematic.
Tell me sweet little lies.
But
sober and thematically consistent?
Sober and thematic.
Really?
All right. Well, I do have more stuff. Hold on. Thursdays, you can find me over on Wandering DM's channel, playing Sentinels of the Multiverse, a comic book RPG game where we create a new comic every week, and the chat gets to interact with and change the action live by playing trading cards. Lots of fun. On Saturdays, you can find me over on the Total Party Kiss Twitch channel with a brand new D&D 5e horror campaign, because I love horror so much, I'm doing it in long form, set in a brand new verse created by our very talented DM. It's an all queer channel, and it's filled with incredibly talented young people who are not me. So come watch, it's great. And on Sunday, not Halloween, like I said, I'm out, but the next Sunday is the season finale for Romance of the Blue Rose over on Praxagora Thesmophoria's channel, because we finished our second season, and where we will be finishing our second season. Everything's gone to shit. There's a lich, there's the vampire. I don't know what's gonna happen, but you can come watch. You can find all the links to my streams in my Twitter bio. And now I'm done talking. Jesus.
Oh, what was that? That's a lot. That's a lot of burden to shoulder there, Puja. You did magnificently. So got a lot of shout out burden. So for my own shout out, Durance here. Let me go ahead and shout out Encounter Party, which is a really great D&D podcast. Say it in the world of Ravnica through the first 3 seasons, and now in their own setting for this upcoming season. So check that out. In addition, I want to also shout out to the folks that are watching, specifically Legendary Action Official, Atten, Go With Him, and Nat Zelly. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to check out Legendary Action stuff, they run D&D 5e, and they actually, I think they do it on a set, or at least it's a completely kind of indecipherable from a regular set. Basically recognize, I don't know. It seems really professional is my point. The other thing I was going to say, finally, is shout out to Angel Citadel, who is our sister Invisible Sun podcast, and they are running their own stream called The Soul's Direction, and you should check that out because every Sunday is now Invisible Sunday. Finally, just guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful, safe, spoopy Halloween. We really enjoy having you guys check us out. So be good to yourselves, be good to each other, be gay, do crime, and eat candy on all the love. So guys, have a fantastic holiday and good night. And